What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to support the channel, additionally you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Now let's get into today's video, and today we're going to be ranking the top 5 9 Nazgûl Commanders. I recently did a video on a 9 Nazgûl deck and it sparked up a conversation, so I thought, hey, let's go ahead and talk about the top picks, why they're the top picks, and we're going to take this from a purely synergistic standpoint. I'm talking gameplay and how busted we can make the 9 Nazgûl as a card, and we're not going to talk about anything flavorful. So without further ado, let's get into it, and this is going to put Lord of the Nazgûl as my number 5 pick. And the reason for this is just because this card does everything it needs to do already. Not to knock anything about the 9 Nazgûl as a card, but the Lord of the Nazgûl is just a busted card. The deck gets less consistent when you take 9 cantrips out and add the 9 Nazgûl. So I can't imagine a scenario where that adds consistency to the deck, right? This is a deck that's just Talrand and Dimir. It's extremely busted, but all you need is the card in the command zone and nothing else. It does the enabling, it does the buffing, it does everything. You could even throw the clones in the deck, and then again you have multiple copies of Lord of the Nazgûl, and then it just gets more insane from there. So that's why he's going to be at number 5, just because he doesn't synergize well with the card other than buffing the board state. But again, he already does that, and once they hit 9 power, you really don't need them to be any bigger, you know what I mean? So moving on, we're going to talk about my number 4 pick, which is going to be the Rakdos Witch King, and this guy has some insane power to him. Yes, he's 7 mana, but in Rakdos that is not going to be a problem. All we need to do is cast a Crick on turn 4, Burnt Offering Crick, and boom, we got our commander, and there's several lines we can do that. We're just going to sacrifice our 7 drops to our Burnt Offering effects to instantly get 7 mana, and then on top of that, red gives us access to a ton of treasure tokens. Additionally, once we can attack with this guy, we pseudo draw a ton of cards, and then if we have multiple wraiths on the battlefield, we're drawing even more cards. And half the goal of this deck is to get it to where we can cast our 9 Nazgûl for free. So we have a lot of stuff that reduces the cost of creatures, paired with cards that get rid of the black pip and the casting cost, and then it's very easy to add haste to the scenario, something Dimir doesn't have. So even if you cast all of your 9 Nazgûl, you can't attack with them. Now we have haste because we're in Rakdos, and it's very easy to cast all 9 of your Nazgûl since they're now free and you have your deck in your hand, and you can just easily attack for the win from there. Moving on to my next pick, we are talking about Smeagle Helpful Guide. And why this is one of the best synergistic cards for the 9 Nazgûl is simple. We're in green, we have more power matters strategies, not to mention this turns all of our 9 Nazgûl into ramp cards. So now we're ramping really hard, Smeagle comes down really early, and we start taking our opponent's lands. Not only can that be really tilting for them if they're missing their land drops, believe me, I've seen it. Additionally, we have stuff like creature synergies. We can easily use stuff like the Great Hinge to draw cards whenever we're casting the 9 Nazgûl. There's stuff like this tribal card right here that makes it to whenever one dies, we get it back. There's just a lot of synergies in green and black that care about creatures, and big creatures at that, right? We have greater good, so not only can we mill ourselves, we can draw into more. I'm gonna tell you, sacrificing a 10/10 Nazgûl to draw 10 cards to play more Nazgûl is just busted, and you're definitely going to have the ramp to do it because again, we are in green and we are turning all of those Nazgûl into ramp cards. It's definitely more busted than it sounds, and Smeagol is going to be at number 3 for that reason. Moving on to number 2, we have Sauron, and this guy's just insane because it kind of turns into a breach deck. We get the best colors, we get blue, red, and black, so we can kind of do the same thing we did with Rakdos. We can make these creatures free, but now we're drawing cards whenever we're casting them additionally, so it easily turns into an underworld breach deck, where as long as you have something like a sack outlet, and then something that nets you mana whenever you discard cards like a Bone Riser, that's going to give you the 3 black pips you need to recast your commander. So there's a lot of ways, again, to get 3 black in this deck, and then you can just keep casting the 9 Nazgûl, discarding your hand, drawing 4 cards, cast another Nazgûl, and you just repeat till they're all on the battlefield, make sure Anger's in the graveyard, and it kind of turns into a deck where, again, you're just attacking with 20/20 Nazgûl, and it's just busted. Another thing is this guy's ward ability is insane, and that giant orc army we get is very abusable with our Power Matters synergy. Another reason I think this is amazing, right? We got new stuff to synergize with this too, like Altar of the Wretched, so we can easily sacrifice those creatures to draw a ton of cards, mill a ton of cards, fuel pulling our breach, and it just turns out to be a really busted strategy where you end up casting all 9 of your Nazgûl and attacking for the win. Now, moving on to our very last one, it is number 1 with Ratadrabik, and this guy's just busted and he abuses the ring tempting ability. So what's going to happen is the 9 Nazgûl is going to enter the battlefield, you're going to make it your ring bearer, and now it's legendary, right? So you can go ahead and sack that, and then it's going to come back as a non-legendary, but then the ring will tempt you again, it can become your ring bearer, and it's legendary. So what this does is it nets you infinite die triggers, and as long as you have a sack outlet and something like a blood artist effect, you can machine gun down all of your opponents. Definitely super busted. What I think about running this is maybe not that casual, because the thing is, you have 9 cards in your deck, and then you run all the sack outlets, and then there's a ton of blood artist effects, so you can very easily get this off with very little effort. It basically turns your commander into the combo piece in the command zone. All you have to do is cast your commander, one of the 9 Nazgûl, get a sack outlet on the battlefield, and congratulations, you did this thing. Now, it does take a lot of pieces to get together, but what makes this deck so broken is the redundancies, right? There's a ton of blood artist effects, there's a ton of sack outlets, there's a ton of the Nazgûl, so now you just end up having a deck that's super consistent, does the thing, and kills everybody instantly. That's going to do it for the video, guys. Let me know if you guys agree with these rankings in the comments. If you disagree, why you disagree. Let's just keep it respectful. When I recently did my video on the 9 Nazgûl, I was surprised to see everybody still on Lord of the Nazgûl as the top best commander for the 9 Nazgûl, undisputed. And in my opinion, it's kind of weird to die on that hill when, again, I think you could just add 9 cantrips to the deck and just make it better and more efficient. That's not always what Magic's about, but if we're talking about best synergistic, it's probably not going to be that guy just for that reason. Another thing I'd like to know is if I missed one, guys. There is a ton of commanders that could probably slot in the 9 Nazgûl, so I'm excited to see if there's anything I missed. Commander you're running the 9 Nazgûl with that you've seen it just do some busted things. I'm excited to, you know, see what you guys are brewing. With that being said, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, guys. I would like to thank my patrons, especially my high contributing ones. Newsome, Excessum, Chicken Salad, you guys are amazing. You really keep the channel going. I appreciate all my other patrons as well. If you want to become a part of that, we vote weekly on Patreon voted deck tech. So if you want to become a part of that, link to the Patreon is going to be down in the description down below. And as always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors. I will see you in the next one. Have a nice day, everyone.